The theme chosen by the host nation France for this G7 is tackling inequality, so the location is perhaps a bit of an odd one. We're here in the French seaside town of Biarritz, the exact location in this rather wealthy area, a palace that's now a hotel. The conversations inside, though, are not going to be easy ones, and the first topic Donald Trump has put on the agenda is making the G7 the G8 again. He wants Russia to be invited back into the fold. The question is how exactly that happens. Russia was kicked out of the G7, or the G8 as it then was, after the annexation of Crimea in Ukraine. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, has had sympathy, apparently, in these meetings over the weekend, but at the same time, what would need to change? Would Russia need to make concessions on Crimea?
We spend a lot of time talking about Russia at those meetings, and they're not there. I think it would be a good thing if Russia were there, so we can speak directly.
This is primarily, of course, an economic summit, and there's no shortage of topics there. We've got flashing signs at the moment in the economies and stock markets as well of the US, the UK, Germany as well. You've got Boris Johnson here still trying desperately to thrash out a deal before Brexit is scheduled to happen on October 31. And of course, the topic still dominating all of that, the trade war between the US and China. The optics are going to be all about Boris Johnson and Donald Trump meeting for the first time as leaders, discussed already to have had a good rapport when they've had chats over the phone. Will they thrash out a bit of a special friendship? Also, Scott Morrison meeting with Boris Johnson for the first time as leaders. So an opportunity for Scott Morrison on the world stage, and one that he doesn't normally get at this G7, Australia having been invited as a special partner nation, one of several to be invited in that capacity. And his role will be somewhat of a marginal one, being invited along to two sessions, one of those on biodiversity and also on online, the economy online, and Scott Morrison there will push again on what he's been talking about previously to make sure online platforms remove extremist material. Perhaps somewhat marginal, those two topics, compared to some of the big things being discussed here, but Scott Morrison will be getting more interest from his stance on Iran, and particularly Australia now going to send troops and resources to the Strait of Hormuz to try to shore up that region. Some pressure, no doubt, going on to Germany and France to seeing if they will join that movement.